Welcome back to Dark Case Stories, your destination for chilling true crime stories that delve into the darkest corners of human nature. From unsolved mysteries to notorious serial killers, we explore real-life cases that shock, terrify, and leave you questioning everything. With in-depth research, compelling storytelling, and haunting details, each video will take you deep into the minds of criminals and the stories of their victims. How does a dedicated nurse, beloved by her family and community, end up dead under suspicious circumstances in a foreign land? The truth may be buried, but her story will not be forgotten. Thousands of Filipinos leave their homeland every year, carrying hopes and dreams of a better future. The UAE has become a land of promise, a place where financial security seems possible, where hard work can transform not only their lives but the lives of their families back home. It is a place where dreams of success sparkle as bright as the lights of Dubai's towering skyline. But behind the dazzling allure of the UAE lies a reality that many don't see. For every story of success, there are untold stories of struggle, sacrifice, and sometimes tragedy. Filipino workers, especially nurses, flock to the UAE with hopes of earning a better wage and providing for their families. They endure long hours, cultural differences, and the heart-wrenching loneliness of being far from home. And while many return to the Philippines with their dreams realized, others face darker, more sinister fates, ones that never make it back to the comfort of their families. This is where the story begins, a journey that was meant to bring hope, but ended in tragedy. It's the story of a Filipina nurse, Reyna Ancheta, who, like so many, left the Philippines in search of a better life in the UAE. She worked hard, cared for her patients, and dreamed of a brighter future. But then, suddenly, without warning, she was found dead under suspicious circumstances. Her family was left devastated, searching for answers in a foreign land thousands of miles away. What happened to her? Was it a tragic accident, or was there something more at play? How could a nurse so full of life end up becoming another name in a growing list of overseas Filipino workers whose lives were cut short abroad? This story isn't just about one woman, it's about the risks and dangers that Filipino workers face when they leave home. It's about the unanswered questions, the silence that often follows their deaths, and the fight to ensure that their voices are heard, even after they're gone. The truth is waiting to be uncovered, and we will not rest until it's found. Reyna Ancheta was the embodiment of the Filipino dream, a hard-working woman with a heart full of hope and determination. Hailing from a modest family in the Philippines, Reyna had always known the value of perseverance. She studied nursing with one clear goal: to uplift her family and provide them with a better future. Her dedication to her profession wasn't just about earning a living, it was about caring for others, both at home and abroad. As a nurse, Reyna was known for her compassion and kindness. Colleagues described her as someone who went above and beyond for her patients, seeing her role as more than a job but as a calling. Her work was not just a means to support her loved ones, but a personal mission to make a difference in the lives of those she cared for. When Reyna decided to move to Abu Dhabi, like many overseas Filipino workers of the US, saw it as a gateway to new opportunities. The thought of earning more and being able to send money back home filled her with optimism. She dreamed of eventually returning to the Philippines, building a home for her family, and perhaps even starting her own clinic. Leaving behind her country, her family, and her familiar surroundings was no easy task. But like so many Filipinos who venture abroad, Reyna carried her hopes with her dreams of securing a better life for those she loved, while finding fulfillment in her profession. Little did she know, her journey toward a brighter future would soon take a tragic turn, one that would leave her family heartbroken and searching for answers. The life that once brimmed with promise and hope was cut short, leaving behind only questions about what really happened in the days leading up to her untimely death. Reyna Jane Ancheta's story is not just one of tragedy, it's a testament to the sacrifices made by many Filipinos, whose dreams sometimes come at an unimaginable cost. Reyna Jane Ancheta, like so many overseas Filipino workers of the US, made the difficult decision to leave the Philippines in search of a better life. With a heart full of hope and determination, she set her sights on Abu Dhabi, a city where dreams of financial stability and career advancement seemed within reach. As a nurse, Reyna knew her skills were in demand in the UAE. The opportunity to work in a modern healthcare system, earn a higher salary, and provide for her family was too good to pass up. She knew that this move, while difficult, was a step towards securing a brighter future, not just for herself but for the people she loved. Leaving home was no easy choice. In the Philippines, Reyna had a close-knit family and a supportive community, but the reality of economic hardships pushed her to make this sacrifice. She joined the ranks of countless OFDUs who leave behind their families' parents, siblings, and children to work abroad. For Reyna, it wasn't just about the money. It was about building a future where her family could thrive. She dreamed of saving enough to one day return to the Philippines, start her own business, and offer her family a life of comfort and security. When Reyna arrived in Abu Dhabi, the city's towering skyscrapers and fast-paced lifestyle were a world away from the simple life she knew back home. She quickly immersed herself in her work as a nurse, taking on long shifts in the bustling hospitals of Abu Dhabi. The job was demanding, with long hours and a constant flow of patients, but Reyna handled it with grace and resilience. She was known for her compassion, always putting her patients first, and her colleagues admired her dedication. Despite the challenges, Reyna remained hopeful. She sent regular remittances home, easing the burden on her family and helping to pay for her siblings' education. Each month brought her closer to her goals. The thought of seeing her family thrive because of her sacrifices kept her going, even on the hardest days. Life in Dubai, however, was not without its difficulties. As an OFW, Reyna faced the emotional toll of being far from home. She missed family celebrations, the warmth of her loved ones, and the familiarity of her homeland. There were days when homesickness felt unbearable, but she reminded herself of the reasons she left. Her sacrifice, she believed, would be worth it in the end. Reyna had high expectations for her time in Abu Dhabi. She envisioned herself gaining new skills, advancing in her career, and eventually saving enough to return home and start a new chapter in her life. She dreamed of the day when she could tell her family that their sacrifices were over, that they could live comfortably without the financial strain that had weighed on them for so long. But despite her optimism and hard work, Reyna's story would take a dark and unexpected turn. What began as a journey of hope and promise would soon become a story of tragedy. The bright future she had envisioned for herself and her family was cut short, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and heartache. As Reyna Jane Ancheta settled into her life in Abu Dhabi, she embraced the challenges and rewards that came with being a nurse in a foreign land. Her days were filled with the hustle and bustle of the hospital, where she cared for patients with unwavering dedication. However, behind the scenes, whispers of unease began to creep into her otherwise hopeful existence. The morning of her death started like any other. Reyna reported for duty, her heart set on providing the best care possible. But as the days passed, something felt off. Reyna had confided in her husband about her growing fears. She mentioned feeling scared when returning to her dormitory at night, especially because she noticed 2 foreign men loitering nearby. Their presence made her uneasy, particularly since they had a Filipino friend who was also acquainted with Reyna. The uncertainty of their intentions left her feeling vulnerable, and she shared these concerns with her husband, who worried about her safety. Despite these warnings, Reyna carried on with her work, putting on a brave face. Her commitment to her profession and her patients often overshadowed her personal fears. Yet friends noted a change in her demeanor, an uncharacteristic weight on her shoulders, a lingering anxiety that seemed to loom larger each day. Then came the fateful day when Reyna went missing. After 3 long days of silence, her loved ones were desperate for news. They had reached out to her friends and co-workers, but no one had seen or heard from her. Concern turned to fear, and friends banded together, hoping to locate her. The heartbreakingly tragic news arrived when Reyna was found dead on a highway in Abu Dhabi. The discovery sent shockwaves through her community and family back home. How could a vibrant young woman, full of life and ambition, be found in such a horrific manner? Authorities quickly began piecing together the timeline of those harrowing days. Reyna had spoken to her husband just before she went missing, sharing her fears about the 2 foreign men who made her feel unsafe. But as the hours turned into days with no word from her, her family's concern grew into despair. The investigation into her death raised more questions than answers. How did she end up on that highway? What had happened during those 3 days when she was unaccounted for? Speculation began to swirl around her tragic death. Was it an accident? A tragic misstep? Or was there something more sinister at play? The unanswered questions left her family and friends grappling with grief and confusion. As they sought clarity, the warnings she had mentioned seemed eerily prescient, hinting at a danger that had been lurking in the shadows. Reyna left behind 2 beautiful children, a 12-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, who now face a future without their mother. She would have turned 33 on December 11th, a milestone that will now forever be marked by loss. The investigation also uncovered a troubling pattern of violence against overseas workers, especially women. With each passing day, more stories emerged about the struggles and dangers afteryears often face, casting a dark shadow over the very dream Reyna had pursued. The circumstances surrounding her death became a stark reminder of the risks that lurked beneath the surface of the promise that Abu Dhabi held for those who came in search of a better life. As Reyna's family waited for answers, the urgency of their quest for justice became clear. The mystery of her death hung heavy in the air, intertwining with their sorrow as they hoped that one day the truth would come to light, a truth that might reveal the warnings she faced, the dangers that loomed, and ultimately, the reasons why their beloved Reyna's bright future was so abruptly extinguished. As the investigation into Reyna Jane Ancheta's tragic death progressed, conflicting narratives began to emerge, deepening the mystery surrounding the circumstances of her demise. According to Reyna's agency in the Philippines, her death was attributed to a car accident. However, this explanation raised numerous questions, particularly regarding the recovery of her belongings. Her husband, grappling with grief and confusion, questioned the official narrative. If it was an accident, then where are her things, he asked during an interview, his voice heavy with sorrow. Her phone and Emirates Idaho were missing. It doesn't add up. This sentiment resonated with many who knew Reyna, amplifying suspicions that something more sinister may have occurred. The loss of Reyna's belongings fueled speculation and rumors. Friends and family began to wonder if her death was indeed an accident or if there was a more complex story behind it. They discussed the growing concerns about abduction and human trafficking in the UAE, particularly involving overseas workers. With reports of such crimes surfacing in the region, the idea that Reyna could have fallen victim to something more nefarious began to take hold. Reyna's husband, haunted by the possibility of a cover-up, voiced his fears. What if she was taken? What if this was part of something bigger? I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this story. His words struck a chord, igniting further outrage among Reyna's supporters and advocates for OFW rights. They began to circulate petitions and organize campaigns, demanding a thorough and transparent investigation into her death, insisting that all possibilities be explored. As the community rallied around Reyna's family, calls for accountability became increasingly urgent. The notion that there might be a cover-up, combined with the rumors of rampant abductions, created a perfect storm of anxiety and frustration. Activists began to spotlight the vulnerabilities of OFWAZAA, highlighting how these individuals, who leave their homes in search of better opportunities, can become easy targets in a foreign land. Advocates and family members continued to push for answers, determined to uncover the truth behind Reyna's death. They knew that her story was not just about one woman's tragedy, but also a reflection of the broader struggles faced by countless OFWAZAA seeking safety and security in their quest for a better life. As the days turned into weeks, Reyna's death began to weave into the larger tapestry of concerns about the safety of overseas workers in the UAE. Each unanswered question and each shadow of doubt painted a picture that demanded attention and action. The community stood united, vowing that Reyna's story would not be silenced and that justice would ultimately prevail. As the heartbreaking news of Reyna Jane Ancheta's death reached her family back in the Philippines, a wave of shock and disbelief swept over them. The once vibrant life of a devoted mother and dedicated nurse had been abruptly cut short, leaving behind 2 young children, a 12-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter who would now grow up without their mother's love and guidance. Reyna's family gathered in their hometown, their hearts heavy with grief. Each member grappled with their emotions differently. Her husband, still reeling from the loss, felt an overwhelming sense of helplessness. I can't understand how this could happen to someone so good, so caring. We need to find out what really happened to Reyna, he stated, tears streaming down his face as he clutched a photo of his wife. Her parents, visibly shaken, echoed their son-in-law's sentiments. We raised Reyna to dream big, to work hard for a better future, her mother said, her voice trembling. Now we're left with this unimaginable pain. We demand justice for our daughter. They felt a deep sense of responsibility to ensure that Reyna's story was not forgotten and that her children would one day know the truth about their mother. In the face of such tragedy, the family quickly mobilized, launching a campaign for justice that resonated with their community. They organized rallies in their town, calling for a thorough investigation into Reyna's death. Friends, neighbors, and fellow Aftuyas joined them, holding placards that read, "Justice for Reyna, and we will not be silent." The gatherings turned into powerful displays of solidarity, each chant echoing their demand for accountability. The family reached out to local and national media, sharing Reyna's story in hopes of bringing greater attention to her case. She was not just a statistic, she was a daughter, a sister, a mother, her brother emphasized during an interview. "We need the Philippine and Abu Dhabi governments to take this seriously. No family should have to endure this kind of loss without answers." As the campaign gained momentum, Reyna's family appealed directly to both the Philippine and Abu Dhabi authorities, urging them to prioritize the investigation. They emphasized the need for transparency and thoroughness, expressing concerns about potential cover-ups and the handling of evidence. "We are asking for justice not just for Reyna but for all Aftuyas who face similar dangers abroad," her husband said passionately in a public statement. The family's relentless pursuit of justice resonated with many who understood the unique struggles faced by Aftuyas. They highlighted the vulnerabilities that accompany the dream of a better life, emphasizing the need for improved safety measures and protections for workers abroad. Their fight became a rallying cry not only for Reyna but for countless others who have faced similar tragedies. In their quest for answers, Reyna's family stood united, knowing that their fight was not just about one woman, it was about protecting the dreams and lives of all those who sought a better future far from home. Their determination inspired others to join their cause, and the hope that justice would eventually prevail became a beacon of light amid the darkness of their grief. Reyna Jane Ancheta's tragic death reverberated beyond the immediate grief of her family and friends, igniting a crucial dialogue about the safety and well-being of overseas Filipino workers Aftuyas, particularly female workers in foreign countries. As the details of her story emerged, it became clear that Reyna's fate was not an isolated incident, but rather part of a troubling pattern affecting many Aftuyas who leave their homes in search of better opportunities. In the weeks following Reyna's passing, media outlets began to spotlight the vulnerabilities faced by Filipino workers abroad. News stories and opinion pieces highlighted the alarming rate of violence and exploitation that often targets women, including issues of harassment, unsafe working conditions, and inadequate support from employers. Discussions around Reyna's case ignited conversations on various social media platforms, where members of the OFW community shared their own experiences, recounting stories of fear, uncertainty, and the struggles they faced while working in foreign lands. Organizations advocating for OFW rights took notice of the growing concern and rallied to amplify the call for change. They organized forums and webinars to discuss the systemic issues that contribute to the dangers Aftuyas encounter, particularly female workers. Many spoke out about the urgent need for better protections, including more rigorous screening of employers and improved training for workers about their rights in foreign countries. During these discussions, Reyna's case served as a rallying point. Many participants shared how the lack of safety measures and support systems often left them feeling vulnerable. They recounted stories of friends and colleagues who had encountered similar threats and who, like Reyna, had their lives cut short or disrupted by violence. A former OFW shared, "We often feel we have to choose between our safety and our livelihoods. This is a choice no one should have to make." The impact of Reyna's death extended to legislative conversations as well. Philippine lawmakers began to discuss the need for stricter regulations and policies aimed at protecting Aftuyas, especially women. Proposals were made to enhance government support services, including crisis hotlines and counseling for those facing abuse abroad. The push for a comprehensive policy framework aimed at safeguarding workers became a pressing topic among legislators, many of whom recognized the need for immediate action in light of Reyna's case. As media coverage continued, public outcry grew, urging the Philippine government and the governments of host countries like the UAE to take the safety of Aftuyas seriously. Advocacy groups organized petitions demanding more accountability and transparency from employers and government agencies responsible for overseeing worker safety. Reyna's story should not just be a tragedy, it must be a catalyst for change. One activist stated during a rally, echoing the sentiments of many who gathered to honor Reyna's memory, "In this new light, Reyna's legacy transformed from one of sorrow to one of advocacy. Her story became emblematic of the struggles faced by countless Afghans, driving home the point that their safety must be a priority and that their lives and dreams should never be disregarded." As communities and advocates continued to push for change, Reyna's death served as a reminder of the strength and resilience of those who, like her, ventured abroad to build a better future for their families, and of the urgent need to ensure that they are protected in their pursuit of that dream. As the dust settles from the tragic events surrounding Reyna Jane Ancheta's death, her legacy emerges as a powerful testament to the courage and resilience of countless overseas Filipino workers often striving for a better life. Reyna's story, once marked by sorrow, has transformed into a rallying cry for justice, igniting conversations about the pressing need for systemic change to ensure the safety and well-being of Afghans, particularly women. Her family, united in their grief, has become a beacon of hope and determination. Despite the heart-wrenching loss, they continue to advocate tirelessly for justice, not only for Reyna but for all those who face similar dangers in foreign lands. They have turned their pain into purpose, urging authorities to take meaningful action to protect the dreams of workers who venture abroad in search of opportunity. With every rally, every petition, and every heartfelt plea for justice, they remind the world of Reyna's vibrant spirit and the life she dedicated to caring for others. Through their efforts, Reyna's family has shed light on the vulnerabilities faced by Afghans and the urgent need for better protections and support systems. Their ongoing fight resonates deeply within the community, inspiring others to join the movement for change. Advocates, lawmakers, and fellow Afghans are rallying around the cause, recognizing that Reyna's story must lead to action. They are determined to ensure that the circumstances that led to her tragic death are not forgotten, and that lessons learned will pave the way for a safer future for all workers abroad. In this spirit of hope, there is a collective belief that Reyna's legacy will inspire lasting change. Policymakers are beginning to listen, and discussions are gaining momentum around creating stricter regulations and more comprehensive support systems for Afghans. The push for safer working environments, better training, and stronger protections is gaining traction, driven by the outpouring of support for Reyna's family and the countless others who have suffered similar fates. As we reflect on Reyna's journey, we are reminded of the strength found in community and the power of a shared purpose. Her life and untimely death serve as a poignant reminder that every OFW's story matters and that their safety should never be compromised in the pursuit of a better future. Reyna's legacy will live on as a source of inspiration and motivation for those who continue to fight for justice and for a brighter, safer tomorrow for all Afghans. In the end, while the journey for justice may be long and fraught with challenges, Reyna's family holds on to hope, a hope that her story will not only change policies but will also empower a generation of workers to pursue their dreams without fear. As they honor her memory, they remain steadfast in their belief that together they can create a world where every worker, like Reyna, can thrive in safety and dignity. Thank you for watching Dark Case Stories. If you found this story meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe for more compelling narratives that shine a light on important issues. Together, let's keep the conversation going and advocate for justice for those who can no longer speak for themselves. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.